Hello, world, and welcome back to another episode of Observation Conversations, Season 2, Episode 3, I believe.
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, we're just kicking it off with no plan or agenda, as is the new norm. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Bad.
Uh,
I got COVID for the first time in 2 years. That was the other thing I realized, is that we are now in our third year of the pandemic, and that is a shitty thing to think about.
Yep.
Made me real sad. Yeah, but I got COVID, so I've been pretty much sleeping all day for the past few days. And I've had so many close calls before. Like there was a period during the peak where it was like I got tested 6 times in a single month and did not get it once. And I always just joke that I had magic blood. And of course, like I got it through the most inane circumstances this time, where I was on a film shoot with another guy. It was outdoors. We were both vaccinated and boosted. And somehow I still just contracted it from him. But I'm doing better. But I had that experience that I want to share.
So what was it that you felt you got symptoms first, you got tested, and then you figured that the other guy must have had it? Or
No,
did he have it?
he notified everyone. He tested positive, and then he sent me a note, and then also just notified our employer, who sent out a message to everyone who may have been in contact, and it was like, you should get tested now, and then also like 5 days since the point of exposure.
Right.
I was like, okay. So I tested that morning, negative. I was like, okay, great. And I had another shoot that night where I was filming a play production of Sister Act. Great musical, by the way. Haven't seen the movie. I do need to see the movie, but it works really well as a musical.
Right.
But for that shoot, we also had to test again. And this test was really weird. There was 3 of us. We all took it at the same time. And all 3 tests showed up with 2 lines. We were like, that's
you're expecting
bad, but expecting.
Congratulations.
Well, for most tests, 2 lines means positive. So we were like, okay, I guess we're all positive, but there's no way that's possible, that all 3 of us are positive. So we were kind of freaking out until the supervisor actually took a look at the tests, and that specific brand is 3 lines positive, 2 lines negative.
That's confusing.
Yes, very. We all thought it was very dumb. I guess it's to get rid of the possibility of a false negative or false positive, but I don't know. But I was negative again then. So then, like 3 days later, 5 days later, something like that, I was like, okay, it's been, the recommended number of days. Let me test again just to make sure I don't have it. So I take the test. I'm looking at it. It's like you can see the solution kind of fading into the slip of paper. And there's like nothing showing up. So I'm like, yeah, it's fine. But it takes 15 minutes. So I'll check on it in 15 minutes.
Right.
I walk back in, and there's like a tiny faded little pink line on the left, and then just a black line on the. I've never seen it that dark, and I was like,
wow.
If that doesn't tell me I have COVID, I don't know what does.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty emphatic sign.
Yeah, I saw it and my heart just sunk, and I was like, oh my God, I have the plague. And it's funny too, because I had a cold like a week before, and then I got ahead of it. I just took kind of tons of Sudafed, and the cold went away really quickly. And then I was getting cold symptoms again. I thought the cold had come back, but turns out it was COVID-19. Yeah. And now I believe you are the only person that I know who has not been affected or infected, I should say,
Yeah.
in any way, which
Yeah.
just shows how pervasive this pandemic has been.
Yeah. No,
Everyone's got it at some point.
Yeah, I'm starting to feel that way too. You know, I mean, I can still think of a few people who I don't know of who have had it, but yeah, I mean, you're certainly not alone. I mean, it seems like you're one of several people who I know intimately who have let me know that they have tested positive in the last few days. So clearly, it's making a resurgence. Yes, I want to talk about. Well, actually, I want to invite you to talk about something. I know that this is old news to you, but I don't think we've really broached it on the show. You have some very exciting news about your educational future. And if you could, I'd like for you to paint us a picture of the school you went to originally, why you went there, why you left, and how you came to be where you are now. Because I think that's a fascinating story.
Okay. Well, first of all, I will say does not fit over my headphones, but yeah, NYU Film and Television School of the Arts start summer 2022. Very excited. I'm a little overwhelmed in terms of my class load for the summer, which is surprising because it's only one class, 6 credits, but Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. It is a full-time job.
And that's counted as just one class.
Yeah, the summer session is only one class, and it's a full-time job, and it's only 6 credits. I feel like it should be at least 8, to be completely honest. But like,
I mean, of course, the
in terms
standard
of credit
is usually,
hours, because credit hours are like hours. They're supposed to be like hours per week, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like that's what it normally is. So
yeah,
really,
it should be like
is usually 40.
3. Yeah. So yeah, the standard is usually 3, and yet, I mean, I've never heard about that. You have a 6 credit class every weekday, 9 to what was it? 9 to 5
6
was it?
p.m.
9 to 6.
It's not even 9 to 5. It's 9 to 6 p.m.
I mean, my God. I mean, yeah, that's. I mean, yeah,
so
that's
gonna be
crazy.
It's gonna be an intense start. But I'm really excited. It's gonna be really fun. They described it as like a intensive film camp, basically, for the first semester. And yeah, I'm just really excited to be starting at NYU. That was my top choice after a very long and arduous school application process. Because the only thing worse than applying to colleges is applying to colleges twice. But yeah, so if you want to know why I transferred, my story begins in the year of 2018.
I'll see if I can put in the flashback sound effect.
Yeah, so senior year, there's so many ways I could start this story, and there's so many different like pieces of context that I should provide.
Sure. I know it's not an easy question.
Yeah. Let's see. I'll say I've always been a more artistic person. I was really into music. I've played jazz trombone for over 10 years.
Don't I know it?
Even went to the Grammys. I did it. Never mentioned that at all. And I was like really into visual arts. Newark Academy had these things called like June terms, where it's like at the end of the school year you take like a 2-week class. One of them I took was like documentary filmmaking, and I thought that was really fun. And that was kind of my start into like amateur filmmaking. But I always knew, at least with music, that I didn't want to do it professionally. That was just like not the career path I had in mind. And I had gotten it in my head that I should do something in STEM because it pays well, you have better job security because there's just tons, every job is a STEM job essentially now. Senior year I took computer science. I was like, hey, this is really fun. I love coding in Java. So it's like, why don't I just do like a computer science track? And maybe I'll do like electrical engineering too, because I dabbled with that a little bit my senior year. That seems cool. And I applied to a bunch of different schools. I got into Case Western, which was my number 2. That's up in Cleveland, Ohio. Um, and long story short, I wasn't great at coding.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's very hard. I was good at like the easy basic stuff. I do also blame the fact that apparently the professor I had for Intro to Java was later fired because he only taught about half the required material. So he kind of left everyone in his class in a giant hole.
Right.
So that was cool. And like by the time I got to data structures, I just had no idea what was going on. Could not figure it out. Don't know what the fuck a hash table is or how to do that. Yeah, so it was kind of rough. And I wasn't the happiest, and I kind of got to this point where I was like, I need to allow myself to pursue something that I actually enjoy. And I knew at that point I had joined the film production club, like the student organization. There was like a film studies concentration for an English major. So it's like, let me just do this because this is good.
Right.
And I was like, instantly I was doing a lot better. Because, I didn't feel like I was forcing myself to do something that would make me successful. And instead I was like pursuing something that I was more interested in actually learning about. And then, yeah, March of 2020, spring break, we all go home, and then we get an email saying, stay home. There is a virus running rampant.
Yeah, and then the Fire Nation attacked.
Yeah, exactly. And then we got another email saying like, hey, come back to campus to get your stuff. Otherwise, all your stuff will be thrown out. So then I, make the 6 or 7 hour drive back up to Cleveland, Ohio, just to get my stuff, and then leave again. And then
must have been pandemonium, everyone coming back to get their stuff like that.
Actually, no. By the time I arrived, it was a complete ghost town.
Oh.
There was like no one there.
Oh wow.
It was actually really freaky. It was also like really foggy and misty that day too. So it actually felt like the entire place had been like the entire place had been abandoned. Really weird. Yeah, and then I did classes online for the rest of the semester. Really sucked. Got really depressed. I was like, I'm not happy with this school anymore. And luckily my parents kind of convinced me that like, I don't have to stick with it. I can take time off. That's what my brother did, and I can look at other schools. And I'm so glad I did, because I found like a film internship in my local town, and I started actually getting familiar with the process and learning how to do more technical work, and I really accelerated. And I'm at a place where it's like I'm excited to go back to school because I'd actually be learning about something that I'm curious about and interested in, and all these skills that I want to develop and get better at. And I think that's great, and I'm so happy that I made that change.
Yeah.
it's weird in hindsight. One of my favorite schools when I was first applying was USC.
Mm.
But of course, I knew, there's no way I can get into the film program because I've never done film before.
Mm.
And I could probably get into the music program, but there was no like interdisciplinary studies, so I would have been stuck doing music and nothing else.
Right.
So
And of course, yeah, and of course, the USC film program is like the Harvard Law of film. Like
yeah,
that's
exactly.
one of the most prestigious programs anywhere in the country.
Yeah, so the only like way I could actually apply to that school was through I think it's the Viterbi School of Engineering,
Mm.
and I applied for their like computer science program. Of course, I didn't get in because it's USC.
Sure.
But like thinking back on it, it's like, yeah, I did kind of wish I could have applied to do film,
Mm.
but I didn't have any of the background or training or skills necessary to actually, create a portfolio work and submit to schools.
Mm.
So, the only reason that I was able to apply to film schools this time around is because I took time off to actually work.
Yeah, although I mean, it is kind of a catch-22, isn't it? Because presumably, if you're applying as a freshman undergraduate, you're going to school to learn those things. So
Yeah,
it's a
you
bit
would think that,
unfortunate
but
that you have to be a prodigy just to learn how
yeah,
to
I
do the thing
mean,
in the first place.
plenty of high schools do offer kind of film courses,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, when you're a school as selective as USC, you can pick from the 0.1% of
Right. Yeah, that's true.
people who, have had film experience and are going to be the next George Lucas or Steven Spielberg or whatever. Um, yeah, but if you're into engineering and research and STEM, and you don't mind not having the sun out ever, Case Western is a good school.
Hmm.
It is a really good school.
Hmm.
But it wasn't for me. I think part of it too was also the social scene.
Hmm.
I don't know how much I've mentioned to you, and I also don't want to like take over the entire episode because I've been the only one talking so far.
Oh, that's all right.
Um, there's something so weird about the students at Case, and I found that like 90% of the people I met and worked with and studied with were just so emotionally immature and almost stunted. And it was really, really weird. Um, I ended up getting involved in a pretty toxic friend group. It was mostly due to one person who was very like manipulative and controlling. And I think she preyed on my own um, insecurities and lack of self-esteem. But I was caught in a really weird situation where, you know, she was criticizing me in these different ways. Okay. I will say I uh joined the friend group, um, developed a crush on this girl. Uh and then this girl's roommate is the crazy manipulative person. Uh and even though we had become good friends, she claimed that I had only used her to get to the person I had a crush on. And I thought that was fucking bullshit because I thought we were good friends.
Right.
Um, and then I was stuck in this position where I would be like criticized and told that like I'm not a good friend, and then I would, put all this energy and work into trying to be a good friend, because the other alternative is leave the friend group and then be completely alone and have no one.
Right.
But it's a catch-22 because, no matter how much work I put in, there was always something new that she would criticize.
Right.
ended up being a very, very unhealthy friendship. So that's another reason that I was so glad to transfer away from that school.
Mm.
I have not kept any contact with anyone from that school.
Yeah, fuck them.
Aside from a couple professors.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck them. They were the one person I'm still friends with. I'm only friends with because we were friends in high school first, and we just happened to go to the same college.
That's good.
And we were both very much in agreement that was all those people are fucking crazy and suck a lot.
Right.
Yeah, but gonna be going to a new school. Very excited to make new friends, meet new people, have a good time. I am so much more confident these days, thanks in part to being in a new environment. Thanks probably mostly to a decent amount of therapy, which I very much recommend.
Yes, always
To
helpful. Always
everyone.
helpful.
Like even if you don't think you need it, just talk to someone. Like book a therapy appointment. It might be more helpful than you think it'll be. It is great.
Absolutely. No, yeah, it really is. It really is a huge help. I know it helped me immensely. But yeah, I mean, can I just say that I want to applaud you for what you did, because honestly, it takes a lot of courage to do what you did, to take the plunge and
Oh
leave.
God, I was terrified.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as dissatisfied as you were with it, I mean, it takes a lot of guts to leave the known, to leave the thing that you have for the potential thing that you might want better, which you could get or you very easily could not get. That's no small thing to do. In my case, I went to a community college for 2 years and then I transferred. So I always knew that the next step, whatever form that took, was going to be a step up from where I was in terms of what I wanted to do educationally. But you had it, in many ways, you were in the promised land. You made it to your 4-year school right out of high school. And you had a lot of self-awareness to recognize that, hey, a lot of self-awareness and a lot of humility too, because I think it does take humility to recognize, hey, when I was 18, I thought I had it all figured out, and of course, when you're 18, you really don't have it all figured out. And
I'm actually gonna you're right about the humility, because what I'm about to say will show that. But also, I'm the most humble person you will ever meet. No, I actually did not plan on transferring ever, and it was actually thanks to my parents, who recognized that I was unhappy, and they were kind of encouraging me to transfer and pursue something different. Because I had it in my head that, like, oh, I have to be STEM in order to be successful, because I need to make money and not end up on the street, because that was my fear. And they were telling me, like, no, you don't have to do that. College is like the time to explore and try different things and see what you like. And it's clear that you like film and art stuff, and you should be taking classes that interest you.
Sure.
And don't bother taking ones that don't. So they were actually the ones who really encouraged me. But I also have to say that you had a big part in that as well. Just because, having someone close to me whose journey is somewhat similar, and kind of, our journeys kind of map together a little bit.
Yeah.
Spending 2 years at one place and then transferring, and also taking time off too.
Yeah.
Just because there's so much kind of societal pressure to be like, okay, you gotta do high school and then immediately 4 years at university, and then immediately get a job.
Yeah.
Any other path means you're a failure.
Right.
And that is something I had internalized, which is very hypocritical of me, because I think that's something you came to me with too, where you're like, I don't know if I'm ready to transfer. I don't know what I want to do. And I was like, don't listen to society, man. Like, you do you. Like, if you need to take a year, that's totally fine. And
you helped
meanwhile, I
me.
was like, oh my God, I'm going to take time off of school. I'm such a fucking idiot.
No, I mean, yeah, you helped me so much with that. I was definitely very much in the mindset also of, if you're not keeping up with the relentless pace of the education pipeline, as you said, obviously you go straight into your 4-year university after high school, and it's 4 years and you're out at the 4-year mark, and then that's it. You're on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. I was very much in that mindset also, and you were the one who kind of helped me, break out of that and realize that, it doesn't just have to be this one rigid path. I mean, there are multiple ways to do it. And you really were the one who helped me so much with that, and I owe so much of my current trajectory to talking about these things with you. And I mean, where I am now as a result is largely because of rethinking everything, after realizing that it doesn't just have to be this one way. I'm not a failure if it doesn't just happen this one way.
Yeah.
And just like you're much happier with where you're about to be, I'm certainly much happier now than if I had, jumped in and gone some of the places that I had the opportunity to go to straight out of high school. Which were, I mean, they were fine schools, but, I mean, they were all private schools. And, obviously if I'd gone there, I would have been coming out with a mountain of debt. And I mean, it's just, there's no question.
I think you made a really good choice doing 2 years of community college, getting an associate's, and then, because you save a lot of money, and then also, spoiler alert, blah. At private universities, the first 2 years you spend on general education anyways. Exactly. You don't even do the stuff that's related to your major. So
exactly.
Some people consider that a waste of time.
Yeah, it's like, for the same class, would I rather spend $500 a credit or $2,000 a credit? I mean, the economics of it, it made a lot more sense for me to do the former instead of the latter.
What was your associate's in?
So just associate in arts with an English specialty.
Okay. And now you're doing political science.
Political science, yeah. American government and politics.
Yeah. I'm still gonna keep pressuring you to maybe look into journalism, because I feel like that could be a good fit. But
I absolutely am. Yeah, I haven't declared a minor yet, but I am going into the fall. And yeah, I think it could be journalism, it could be something else, but I definitely am going to have a minor in something. So yeah. But well, again, I think that was great advice you got, and I'm very glad you followed it, because it got you to where you are today. And I'm just again, all I can do is applaud you for the courage to take that step, and take the step not into something else that was certain, but take the step into the uncertain and work towards making this happen now. I can just I hear it in your voice when you talk about how excited you are to get started with this, and obviously your passion for film is self-evident. And NYU is a great school and a great place, and I know you'll be very happy there. So I'm looking forward to hearing how that goes. But my absolute congratulations to you. I think it's wonderful news. I was blown away when I heard that, when you told me that you had gotten NYU. And I mean, it's just a great story. I think it's a great story, and a great a great example to point at, if on the off chance anyone out there is about to embark on their own journey of higher education, just to show that where you start does not necessarily have to be where you end up. I mean, the fact of the matter is that when you're 18, you think that that you know everything and the world is your oyster. Spoiler alert.
When you're 18, you feel like you're supposed to know everything.
Right.
And feel like you're supposed to know where you are in the world.
Exactly. Yeah. And you're talking yourself up, and you feel like you're this big shot because you're graduating and all this other stuff. Spoiler alert. You don't know everything, and the world has got lots of twists and turns and surprises, and you'll learn more about yourself along the way too. So, where you start does not have to be where you end up. But at the end of the day, there's no sense in taking the time and spending the money to gain training in something that you're not passionate about, because if it's not something that you care to do day in and day out for the rest of your life, then it's a better idea to try to find a thing that you are willing to do that for. So
you will find more success pursuing what you enjoy rather than pursuing what you think will make you money.
Absolutely.
Because if you're invested in what you enjoy, you kind of pursue it and you have the energy, then you'll make it work. And if you're just pursuing something that you don't really like just because it pays, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to get depressed.
Yeah, it's going to be a miserable existence.
Yeah, so. It's going to fall apart.
Absolutely. So my hat's off to you. Congratulations. And yeah, I'm just so glad that it all worked out in the end. You know, you landed the proverbial plane. So
yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, even now I can tell. So, but still though, I mean, that schedule is just crazy. 9 to 6, right? Monday to Friday. I mean,
it should be more than 6 credits. Like that's, believe me, I am so happy to be doing it. But like, only 6 credits, 9 to 6. Like, come on.
So let me ask you this, you know, because I mean, obviously, even within film, there's a multitude of different, you know, things that can come out of that. I mean, do you see yourself as wanting to go on to be a director or a screenwriter, cinematographer?
I want to do a little bit of everything. Right now, I see myself as kind of a jack of all trades.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to build myself as, especially with my music background. I'm trying to learn how to score film projects too, which is a pretty rare skill. So I feel like that'll make me a little bit more useful. But being able to like work behind the camera and edit, doing pre and post production is really valuable to have someone who knows how to do both, especially because, you know, if you understand post production, that can assist a lot in the pre production, because you're like, okay, if I'm going to edit it this way, this is like the footage I need. The one thing I do want to learn is visual effects, which means taking some kind of animation class or classes, because I just have no idea where to get started with any of that, with like 3D modeling and Blender or Cinema 4D, any of those programs. Like I've no clue where to start. So that's something I'd like to do. In terms of career, I'm probably thinking television, just because employment is a little bit more consistent and long term. Because instead of working for 8 months on a movie, you're working for 5 years on on new seasons of TV. I mean, it obviously depends.
Sure.
And some shows are, will only hire crews in a specific region, where others will like travel. It's a very diverse kind of career pool. Sure. I think there's also more job opportunities in television anyways.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly.
Especially with streaming, how many shows are being created.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, certainly. If you include streaming as part of TV, I mean, right now we're in the middle of a gold rush, really. If you've got talent and if you're looking to work on any one of these multitude of projects, because there's just so much coming out across all these different services. So, yeah, I mean, so I guess do you see yourself in Los Angeles after you've got your degree?
I don't know at all. That's going to be one of those things where I just see what happens. I know for the first 3 years I'll stay around in New York because I just love the East Coast.
Right.
And also I don't want to move to a place that is A, incredibly expensive, and B, perpetually on fire. Yeah. I don't know. It's just gonna entirely depend. I mean, I could even end up in fucking Texas or Hotlanta, Georgia. That is a big spot for television.
It is, yeah.
But there's
big projects filmed there.
There's tons of stuff in New York. Yeah, I really don't know. I'd love to be on like a documentary film crew and travel the world for some kind of project. I'd love to fucking work in the MCU. That would be so cool.
That'd be a dream come true.
Yeah, that would be incredible. But yeah, it's just one of those things that I'm just taking it day by day. Right now, it's about learning as much as I can. So.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, of course, viewers might know, I used to live in Southern California, and I mean, of course, LA is a huge city and certainly has more than its fair share of assholes. But I think you would like it, just because, I mean, clearly you're someone who enjoys.
I do like California a lot.
Oh yeah.
I have a decent amount of family in Santa Cruz.
Okay. Yeah.
And like LA is nice enough, but
Yeah.
it also does kind of suck.
Well,
Especially getting around really sucks.
Yeah. Car ownership is required, but the reason I think you would like it is because you're someone who enjoys being around creative people, and certainly there's no shortage of them there. So I suspect it's the kind of place that you would like. But I mean, as you said, I mean, it's not just Hollywood anymore. It hasn't been for years now. I mean, it's all over the country and the world. I mean, honestly, you could be filming a big American production in Hungary just as easily as in Los Angeles. So so
actually, it might be cheaper in Hungary.
Yeah, wherever has the best incentives. I mean, projects shoot in Hungary, they shoot in England, they shoot in Italy, they shoot all over the place. So. Absolutely. Australia is a big one, yeah. So, but yeah, so I think that's probably the big interpersonal news of the last little bit. Other than this, the trip that we've been trying to put together for years now, and it really has been years. We want to do a little bit of a reunion of sorts with everybody in New Jersey. It has finally come together. It's finally confirmed, which is very exciting. We're going to be doing that in a few weeks. What are you most looking forward to out of that? Because I mean, there's so much.
I'm just excited to see you in person.
Oh, wow, that's nice.
I mean, you have a gorgeous face, and it's wonderful in 2D on a screen, but yeah, I mean, we spend so much time apart that it's just nice to hang out in person and kind of experience that that connection and company.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I guess I should have been more specific, because, of course, everyone's answer is going to be to see one another.
Yeah.
Is there like a specific activity that you're looking forward to, or a specific site to see that you're?
Honestly, I'm just excited to play fucking Smash Bros with you guys at night. Like, part of that is my crippling addiction to Smash Bros. I have not played in like a good couple of years.
That doesn't sound like addicted to me.
Well, I constantly think about it all the time. I'm in like a perpetual state of withdrawal. Yeah, but I don't know. It's just a lot of fun. I mean, like going into the city doing all these activities is great, but I do feel like our peak of enjoyment is when we're just kind of laughing, doing some kind of simple activity together.
Oh yeah.
Whether that's like Smash or any kind of video game or board games or card games, or just kind of chilling in the living room.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, we've already started to kind of lay it out and figure out what we want to do when, and some various things.
I want to change my answer, actually.
Oh.
I'm excited to all cook dinner together.
Yes, that'll be nice.
Because that will give us the more authentic roommate experience that we never got with each other. But I always thought it would be fun to be roommates with everyone.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think we have a great list of things that we want to do out and about, but certainly I think the things that the real lasting memories will be those quieter moments when we're just hanging out in the Airbnb, just bros being bros and just playing games and getting a taste of the simple life just for a few days.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be great. I think cooking in the apartment is going to be great. The little thing I'm looking forward to is kind of keeping in the same vein with what you were saying, is doing talking points live with everyone. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I mean, I think cooking in the apartment is absolutely one. Obviously, we're going to be playing some games on the Switch, playing some board games, some card games. There's an infamous game from our past called Mal that is.
I think that'll take some convincing to get people on board with that again.
Yeah, so the thing about Mal is that it's very psychologically scarring. It's not for the faint of heart.
No.
Uh, but
Definitely something I want to do with Harry, because I think he's kind of the best
yes,
at least starting off the rule set.
yeah, he's the one who got us into it originally back in the day. So, but yeah, that's some exciting news. So yeah, we'll have a lot. I suspect, just like how we had a surprising amount of content after just one day in April, we're going to have a lot of content to talk about after that's done. Hey, we'll even record something live for the first time ever. I mean, that's something we've been promising since day one. So we'll have a chance to do that. So that'll be fun. But yeah, speaking of Jackbox, just a random thought. A couple days ago, I had a chance to try a game in Pack 4, which for whatever reason we've never tried before, but it's called Civic Doodle. It's the drawing game of Pack 4.
I've asked if we could try that so many times, and fucking Greg keeps saying no, it's not good, and I just trust him. But like,
yeah,
I love all the drawing games.
Yeah, well, let me tell you, I tried it the other day with some other friends, and it's really good. It actually might be one of my favorite drawing games. Like it's a really good game. So I don't know why we haven't tried it yet.
How does that one work? Because I'm
so basically the conceit of the game is you are creating murals for public areas in this town, and so. But it's iterative. So instead of everyone draws something and then you vote on which one's the best, everyone draws something, you vote on which one is the best, and then that goes to the next phase, and then everyone has to draw something based off of that original drawing.
And then you add to it.
Yeah, you add to it.
That sounds so fun. I love that.
It's good. Yeah, and then the best part is at the end, after you have the completed drawing, you then you have a naming competition. So everyone comes up with a few names, then you vote on the best name, and then the combination of the name and the ridiculous thing that you've just drawn is it's very, very funny. And then the last round of it, instead of just drawing random things, you have to draw portraits specifically. So you draw face 1, then face 2, then face 3, and then it's a whole thing. It's very fun. I definitely think that's going to be a fun one to do. So
I want to do that. I love all the drawing games.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one.
I wish we could do Drawful Animate again.
Yeah.
Just because I had a lot of fun with that one. Mainly because the profile picture that you draw for yourself is also animated.
Right. Yeah.
And I drew like some guy getting shot, like one guy shooting another guy. I don't know. It was just really funny.
Yeah, the drawing games can be hit or miss for me. On the whole, I like them. But the thing about the drawing games is that you always have a leg up because you're just the best artist of all of us by far. So
I'm also drawing on my computer and not my phone. That could be part of it.
Yeah, well, I'm usually on the computer, so I'm with you on that.
So you're just bad then.
Yeah, I'm just bad is the thing. That's my problem.
Yeah, I do think out of everyone, I do have the most experience drawing just in general.
Without a doubt. Yeah, without a doubt. And your drawings are always great.
Sketchbooks that I've filled out throughout the years, so.
Yeah, so your drawings are always the best, and we know that your drawings are always the best. But
that's why I like to play the drawing games.
I know. It's there's nothing wrong.
That's also why I hate the trivia games, because I'm really dumb and always lose them.
I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with self-interest. But I think that for me, the thing about the drawing games is there are certain games that are more forgiving for those of us who are less talented at drawing than others. Like, I feel like TKO is a pretty forgiving one. I think that Champed Up is kind of middle of the road. It definitely does reward better artistic skills, but it's not. You can still draw something stupid and get votes.
Yeah.
I think Civic Doodle is one of the more forgiving ones, which is why I like it. Actually, as much as I love Bidiots, I think Bidiots is actually less forgiving because, I mean, I feel like a big part of what gets people to bid up is if the drawing is better. So I think that's probably one of the less forgiving ones.
I actually don't know if that's necessarily true because, well, I guess it depends on how well you can convey what the title is.
Yeah.
But the thing about Bidiots is that you're not like trying to defend your drawing in the way that you are with like champed up or like drawful
Yeah.
or any of those where it's like your success is dependent on your drawing specifically.
Right. Yeah.
TKO is fun because you get to use other people's drawings, and also half the fun is also just the catchphrases.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, champed up is difficult. Patently stupid is difficult because
yeah, that's tough.
if you can't draw well, it's like, well, you're stuck with your drawing and you're just defending it. But Biddy, it's you draw a couple things, but then it's really more of a guessing game and trying to mentally screw with your friends.
Yeah, that's true, actually. Yeah, I take that back. But because you don't have to defend your own drawing, Bidius is actually more forgiving. But I guess the point I was trying to make with all this is I think that drawful anime is definitely one of the less forgiving ones, if not perhaps the least forgiving.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm open to trying it again. I mean, it's still an okay game. I just don't think it's for me.
That's fair. I just like it because I like drawing.
We'll do it again.
I am very biased.
But we'll definitely do it again. But,
I know. Can you be partial to something? Like you can be impartial?
Sure, yeah. You can be partial.
That's a word?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Because there's some words where it's like you have like flammable and inflammable mean the same thing.
Right.
For some reason. And there's also just some words where it's like you have the un or in, but there's no like regular word.
Partial is definitely a thing. Like if I were to say I'm partial to chocolate over vanilla, that sort of thing.
Okay,
But so anyway, just a totally random musing, but I think that'll be a fun one to do also at some point. I mentioned to you that I had a video on my phone that I took of what I believe to be what I can only describe as a UFO sighting.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
And I wanted to broach this on the show because, just because aliens is always a fun topic. and also,
I need to look at this video again. Yeah, it was just a white speck that's like buzzing all over the place, right?
Well, so basically, here's the story. I'm in my room here, in my dorm here, and I'm eating dinner one night, and my desk is immediately in front of this big picture window that I have looking out to the south towards downtown Orlando and to the south. And it's nighttime. And just out of the corner of my eye, I see something that makes me kind of stop in my tracks. And, I stop what I'm doing and I get up, I look out the window just to try to assess if I'm really seeing what I think I'm seeing. And what I'm seeing is it appears as though there are these orbs of light, not super clear, but visible. And there's several of them and they're going around and around and around. As if they're attached to some sort of flat disc, if you will, that's hovering, couldn't be more than 1,000 feet off the ground or so. Not far off in the distance, pretty close. Now, of course, I consider myself a pretty rational person. I try not to be too superstitious, so I try to find what would be the rational explanation for what I'm seeing here. And at first I think, well, could this be a reflection of something? Could it be spotlights or that sort of thing? But obviously, if it were spotlights, then you would be able to see the trail of light going up from the ground into the sky. And there was nothing on the ground that would have reasonably been casting that reflection onto the clouds in the sky. And if there was, then it wouldn't have been the first time I noticed it. And so my next thought is, well, could it be planes? Well, I'm a big aviation geek, so and the great thing about where I am, and particularly the view that I have, is Orlando International Airport is directly to the southeast. So at nighttime, I can see the landing pattern of the planes as they come around to land at Orlando International. And so I know what that looks like. I know what they are. I know what the flashing lights of the planes look like. And this is definitely not that. For one thing, it's a lot larger than those planes look at a distance. And also, it's a lot closer than those planes are. So it's not a spotlight. It's not a reflection. It's not planes. And that was about it that I could come up with for explanations. I mean, there's no weather phenomena that I'm aware of that could have caused that effect. It's not like it was raining not like the weather was abnormal that night. It was a clear night, cloudy, but a clear night. And so
cold, warm.
Well, I was inside for the duration of it, so I couldn't. I couldn't speak
you
to
didn't open the window.
No, these windows don't open. So.
Okay.
But this was in April, so it was probably in the 80s or so, maybe the 70s. It was nighttime. And so at this point, I'm just, I can't rationalize it. So I think, well, let me just get a video of this so that when I do show somebody, they can tell me if I'm crazy or not. And I did show you the video, and you really couldn't rationalize it either.
No, I've rationalized it.
Oh, okay,
you just forgot what I said.
Well, what's the explanation?
The thing I picture, it's really hard to make out in the video, I will say.
Yeah.
Just because cameras in general, but also just phone cameras are not great at filming in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very grainy, a lot of artifacting going on. Hard to really make out, but I could faintly see. It felt like there was something rotating in the sky, right? Like that was easy to describe. It felt like there were kind of these lights. What I predict that was, or I guess not predict, but what I guess it was, is that it was some sort of miniature cyclone or just cycle. The clouds were spinning in a circular pattern, catching the light in such a way that it looks like these lights are kind of moving around. Because wind tends to move in circles a lot. The reason I was asking about the weather is because if it was like, if it had been really hot one day and then really cold the next day, or even if it fluctuated kind of throughout the afternoon, that could lead to some weird weather stuff. And it doesn't have to be a dramatic thing. I think it was just kind of this small area had spinning clouds. That's how I would rationalize it.
Yeah, maybe.
However, I think the deeper conversation you want to get into is, are there aliens?
Well, I think it's a two-pronged thing. It's, are there aliens, and if yes, are they visiting Earth? Now, to that point, because yes, I am entirely open to rational explanations for it, and I'm by no means an alien truther. When I'm talking to, it's always a fun conversation to have. When I am talking to doubters that there are aliens out there, I always like to remind them that in the infinite expanse of the universe, it's incredibly hubristic to think that human beings are the only intelligent life out there. But at the same time, when I'm talking to alien believers, I'm like, come on, it's highly unlikely all these abduction stories and various things are just what they appear to be on the surface. I think there's a lot of wackos out there who are making a quick buck off of gullible people. So I tend to play devil's advocate with both sides, and my own personal beliefs fall somewhere in the middle. I do think that there is intelligent life out there because, how could there not be? Just even in terms of the immense space of just the observable universe, let alone whatever might exist outside of that. I mean, we're talking about millions of galaxies, star systems, planets. I mean, it just seems so unlikely that Earth is the only place where intelligent life exists.
I mean, given just, we've already found a handful of, livable planets in the Milky Way.
Yes.
And that's just one of billions of galaxies.
Absolutely.
Like, statistically, there almost has to be intelligent life. I think it's a difficult question because we still aren't entirely sure why we developed this higher level of intelligence. But I think common consensus is that it was some form or some aspect of natural evolution. Evolution is a proven theory. Reasonable to say that could happen on other planets with life, that they would eventually produce intelligent life.
Yeah, that, and of course just luck, because if I mean, there are so many times that of course the Earth could have been, so even once you get to the point where the Earth is in the habitable zone, that's already incredibly unlikely. Then on top of that, there have been so many times we've had meteor impacts that could have just destroyed the planet, including the moon itself, the impact that created the moon. And then of course, if the dinosaurs had been wiped out, we wouldn't be here today. Apologies. And so on and so forth. So it's obviously, yes, it's a combination of being in the habitable zone in our solar system, evolution, and just luck as well. Because I mean, there were so many inflection points where none of this could have happened, and so there's that also. But yes, no, I think that there is intelligent life out there, almost certainly. But the question is, there is intelligent life. Have they been visiting us?
No. I think no, just because, two reasons. One, the universe is very, 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 very big, and it is very, 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 very difficult to travel long distances in the universe. There is nothing near us that contains any life that we've observed, and if there was anything outside of what we've observed that does contain intelligent life that have come to visit us, it would take like hundreds, if not thousands of years for them to travel between us and themselves, because that's just physics.
Right.
Unless they know how to, open up wormholes, but that's only theoretical and also requires, so much energy that it's basically impossible.
Right.
And the second reason is that people can be convinced of almost anything. A lot of people are very crazy. Mass hysteria has caused a lot of wild phenomena before. So I think it's perfectly reasonable to believe that a whole group of people could think they were abducted by aliens and have it be something entirely different, or just have it nothing happened at all, and it was just some form of mental break. Could have been substance abuse, could have been just some form of hysteria. We don't know.
Right.
But the chances of an actual abduction, I would say, of an alien abduction, very, 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 very low.
Yeah, I mean, I for one have always been deeply skeptical about the abduction element of it in particular. But with that being said, I definitely am a believer in UFOs in terms of their strict definition, an unidentified flying object. I think that there have been a lot of very credible, well-reported, well-documented examples of UFOs. Even the Navy has come out and acknowledged them. In fact, the whole federal government has now. NASA just announced today that they're launching an initiative to gather more evidence of UFO sightings. And so I think that, I mean, one of the most famous cases that comes to mind is, I believe this was in Lubbock, Texas, I believe it was. It was an infamous incident called the Lubbock Lights, the 90s, where it was actually not dissimilar to the video that I showed you, where It was these strange sequence of lights darting around in the sky far faster than any earthly aircraft that we're aware of. And it was just above the entire city. Anyone could go out and look at it and observe it. Many people took videos of it. It was on the local news at the time. There have been similar stories in Phoenix and other places. So I do think that there is more than enough to say that UFOs are a thing. Now, are all UFOs aliens? No. I mean, of course, some of the most infamous examples of UFOs have just been, the Air Force testing new equipment. Of course, the Nightwing bomber, when it was being developed in the 80s and 90s, when they would do test flights of that over Nevada. People thought that was an alien craft. Of course, now it's a well-known aircraft that the Air Force uses. In fact, I don't even think they use it anymore. I think it's now obsolete. And so I definitely am a believer in UFOs. And could I be persuaded that some percentage of UFOs are attributable to phenomena beyond our current understanding? Yes, I could believe that. The fact of the matter is, to your point, any alien society advanced enough to travel all that way, millions, if not billions of light years to get from wherever they are to here, what their motivations for coming might be difficult to parse. Maybe they weren't even trying to find us, but if they do have the capability of doing that, and they didn't want to make themselves known, then surely they have the capability to do that too. I'm sure that to them, our radar detection technology and the radio waves that we use to reach deep into the galaxy are utterly rudimentary to them, like Stone Age. So I definitely do believe that if an alien wanted to come here and they didn't want to be seen or wanted to make themselves as inconspicuous as possible, then they could do that. But I mean, that's about all I can say about it, of course, because we just don't know. If they were identified, then they would no longer be UFOs.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting question, and it's always a fun thought experiment when it comes to are the aliens out there? Are they not? I've certainly met some diehard believers, and I've met diehard doubters. And I will say it is more fun to debate the believers than the doubters.
Yeah. Yes.
I think that the believers, I think it's good of them to ask questions and not necessarily just swallow the official explanation for everything. I don't think we've had contact with aliens to the extent that they believe we had. But if you told me that there had been some extraterrestrial incursion on or around this planet that we weren't aware of, I mean, yeah, that's believable. I mean, I mean, obviously they're not in an underground bunker fucking controlling all the world's governments, but I mean, maybe they're just studying us or keeping an eye on us. There's there's any number of explanations. So, it's interesting.
Motive is an interesting thing to theorize about. Because if they were here to monitor, they could very easily do that without being seen. And arguably, if they were an intelligent form of life, they would see we have satellites in orbit. They would know, okay, if we enter orbit, chances are we are going to be seen, spotted in some way.
Right.
That is not something we want to do. And if it is something they want to do, why not just fucking land and then try to start communicating?
Right.
Which they haven't. I think for us, if we were to find intelligent life on another planet, we'd probably do the same thing. We'd observe a little bit without being detected, and then introduce ourselves.
Absolutely.
Like that's just kind of a natural thing, and there hasn't been any kind of introduction. The other thing I think about too is just physics a lot. Like every time you think about aliens and then you kind of compare that with physics, which are these rules of the universe that cannot be changed. We know this. Like there was the lights you mentioned that were like zipping around everywhere. I don't think that could have been an alien craft, because if there was an alien inside of there, changing direction that quickly would, destroy anything, any kind of internal organs that had been developed, because, the amount of G's they would experience going in one direction and then immediately going in the other direction would most definitely kill most life forms. My prediction for those is that it's probably some form of drone, just because, like, racing drones are super agile. They do have lights.
Right.
I don't know. That's how I would estimate it. But
well, keep in mind in that case, I believe that was like in the early 90s. So we're talking like 30 years ago. So
yeah,
drones weren't then what they are now.
Yeah, that is very true. The one thing that's interesting is in 2021 the Pentagon released several different clips, and one was like this tic tac looking thing that was spotted from several different jets, fighter jets flying around, and I think they even had like multiple angles.
Yeah.
I got nothing for that. I do also want to talk about something a little bit unrelated, but it still deals with the unexplained, which is ghosts and the paranormal. Because as much as I like to be a rational person, there are still things out there that can't be explained. And I was wondering how you felt about these types of stories.
Well, so let's just establish a foundation. Are you where do you fall on the spectrum of belief on ghosts?
I don't believe in ghosts.
Okay.
But I'm willing to admit that there are events that have happened that I do not have explanations for.
Yeah, I will say that when it comes to ghosts, I'm definitely a bigger believer in aliens than ghosts. I think that, of course, there's always these little things in life that seem to be completely unexplainable that could suggest or could point to supernatural phenomena like a ghost. But I don't know. And obviously this is without even getting into the religious angle of it, because religion obviously is a whole other thing.
That would be an entire episode of us just talking about religion.
Exactly. But just talking about the purely secular notion of a ghost, I can't say that I have ever really been a subscriber to ghosts. I said during the aliens piece that I try to be a superstitious person. But that having been said, I do find myself believing in various superstitious things, both big and small. I am open to having the conversation about supernatural things. But when it comes to ghosts, I can't say that I've ever really been there with ghosts. It's just like.
I'm not a big spiritual person. I am a bit superstitious. There are some things that I just can't explain, like previous guest that we've had on the show, Jess. She does tarot readings.
Oh yeah.
And I don't really believe in that or astrology or anything, but having seen her shuffle a deck of cards several times and then still randomly pull out the same like handful of cards.
Mm.
I got nothing for
Right.
that, unless she was secretly a well-trained magician and knows sleight of hand. But as far as I know, that is not the case. But the most interesting experience is actually not mine. It is a story I heard from my dad about when he was a child and he was living with his parents. In his childhood home, I don't know if it was the like dining room or the living room, but there's this like large chandelier that had like 12 different light bulbs up, and it was it was pretty high up. You couldn't reach it without a ladder. And one day, my dad's dad, so my grandpa Hank, wakes up early in the morning, goes downstairs to make coffee, and just sees 12 light bulbs standing perfectly upright, placed on the table, and nothing in the chandelier.
So 12 light bulbs grouped together or apart from each other?
Like someone had taken them out and then placed them in a line, standing them upright. So it's not like they were laying on the table; they were like standing upright.
No, yeah, I got that they're standing upright, but they're in a line, so it's not like there's light bulbs on either side to keep the ones in the middle upright. They were just standing there.
Yeah, they were just placed in a way that they're balancing upright.
Oh, that's really
taken
strange.
Out of a chandelier on the ceiling, which cannot be reached without a ladder. So either the entire story is something that my grandpa Hank made up to scare my dad. Plausible.
Possible, yeah.
Probable. Either that, or someone broke into their house in the middle of the night, took nothing, and instead just unscrewed 12 light bulbs from the chandelier and placed them upright on the table for them to discover the following morning.
If we break into these people's house and just arrange unscrew their light bulbs and just arrange them in a really weird way. Wouldn't that be a good prank? That'd be a great prank.
I mean, they were certainly shocked. Or possibility number 3, Ghost did it.
Right.
Like, and honestly, if you think about, assuming that this is a real event that actually happened, which, I think my dad actually saw the light bulbs on the table too.
Right. So it isn't just something that he just heard. I mean, he saw it happen, or he saw the after effect.
Yeah, he saw the light bulbs on the table. And it's possible that my grandpa Hank took the light bulbs out and placed them on the table just to tell a story like that for my dad, but that's not something he would do. And if you just think about, again, going back to motive, there's no way someone would break into their house just to unscrew a bunch of light bulbs and leave them on the table.
Right.
The logical one, just looking purely at motive, the logical explanation is something supernatural.
Yeah, well,
that's one of those things where it's just like you just can't explain it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that you threw in there that you don't think that it's something that your dad just made up, because I was about to say that it sounds like if your dad claims that he witnessed this, he's probably just telling you this story just to fuck with you.
Could be that, yeah.
So, but if you don't believe that that's the case, then yeah, I mean that's such a strange and specific thing that.
Right. It's so specific and weird that it cannot be like a person who decided to do that.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean,
it's how else do you explain it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a way to stand up a dozen light bulbs upright next to each other. I'm sure there's someone out there who could do it.
You could balance a bunch of light bulbs.
Right. But it's not easy. It is not easy to do. And also, as you said, what would be the possible motive? I mean, it's so unlikely that it would have been a break-in, obviously, because there would be evidence of a break-in, unless on top of expert light bulb placers that are also top locksmiths. So it's not that. So, and I mean, no one in the house would do that. It doesn't make any sense. So, yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah.
I'll grant you that's.
And there's just tons of stories that like that where it's just you can't really explain it.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, so I guess the conclusion from this long conversation is aliens? Yeah. Ghosts? Yeah. Determinism?
Determinism.
Yeah, there you go.
Poor man's philosophy.
Yeah. But yeah, honestly, yeah, we could have just done that. We could have just led with that and saved a lot of time. But
I am disappointed that there isn't an E3. But I am excited to see all the games that get announced, because honestly, I kind of need a new game.
No, oh my god, yeah.
I need a new multiplayer game. We need something new that we can play, because as much as I love Jackbox games, it doesn't satisfy that like action itch.
Yeah.
In the same way that Call of Duty does, or arguably Sea of Thieves does, although not as much. That's a bit more silly.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret that of our group, I'm definitely the biggest Jackbox fanatic. But even I recognize that it's not the only thing I ever want us to do. I mean, I do want us to have a rotation of things that we can do. And I mean, it's so true, because, in my opinion, we have been in an absolute drought since 2019. I mean, obviously, I know the pandemic, just like everything else, disrupted video game development, but 2019 was the last year where it felt like we had anything close to a bumper crop of new games. And it's especially mind-boggling because we have these next-gen consoles out now, and there's very little for them. Like, even now, 2 years in, there's very little for the new consoles. And
unless you're looking at like exclusives like the Spider-Man games.
And even then they haven't really come out yet. I mean, Halo got delayed. That just came out a few months ago. Spider-Man 2 for the PlayStation is still not out. God of War 2 isn't out yet. I mean, it's just been an absolute drought, and I'm feeling it too. I mean, it feels like we just haven't gotten something new to sink our teeth into in the longest time.
Battlefield 2042 was a total flop.
Yeah.
Vanguard sucked, but also no need to get every new COD game like you can do every other year.
Yeah, you look at the games that we had pinned our hopes on. Games like Cyberpunk, that was a failure. Battlefield 2042, that was a failure. Other than those, you just have your cyclical every year games, your sports games, your 2Ks, Maddens, and your Call of Duty. And that's it, really. The only games that have been hits, critical and commercial hits, in the last 2 years that I can name off the top of my head, have been Resident Evil Village and Elden Ring. That's it. It's and those are both
single player games too.
Exactly, yeah. So
maybe that's the problem. Is that all the multiplayer games just are bad?
Yeah, well,
which
I mean,
sucks,
it's just
because I want a good multiplayer game.
Yeah, the games that we've been pinning our hopes on. I mean, even Halo Infinite, we tried that for a bit, and I mean, it's fine, but
Halo's fun, but it's an entirely different experience. And I think coming from Call of Duty, which is a little bit more fast-paced, especially because it's like an instant respawn instead of like a 5-second countdown.
Right, yeah.
Which just sucks. And like the armor, you feel like you're, the fact that you have to unload an entire magazine into a person.
More than entire magazine. I mean,
like that feels
truly,
it just makes the game feel slow. And
yeah, no, truly, that is the reason why I just couldn't fall in love with Halo Infinite. It's because the time to kill is ridiculous. I'm not saying every game needs to be Call of Duty, but I mean, I couldn't tell you how many times I would unload an entire magazine into somebody and they would only be down to like half health. Like it is crazy how much you have to do just to get a single kill. And yeah, I mean it's not my preferred style. Like if I had to choose between that or Call of Duty, if those are the two extremes of the spectrum, I'm definitely gonna go with Call of Duty, because it's very frustrating when you feel like you finally have the advantage and you unload an entire clip into your opponent and they can still have enough health to turn around and kill you. Like that's the thing, is that I feel like it takes me forever to get a kill, but people were killing me at a normal pace. Maybe I'm just terrible, but it was really annoying.
I mean, I think Halo is, you do a lot more damage with headshots, and that's true for most games. But given the way the armor works, that that level of damage is kind of exasperated. So people who like play on PC or are just like really good at the game and have very precise shots kind of have an unfair advantage compared to newer players or novice players that tend to get their kills through body shots. Yeah. So Halo, I've heard the campaign's really good, but multiplayer, really hoping for Battlefield. I hope it doesn't seem like they're going to fix the current one, because I have not heard anything about Battlefield 2042 turning around in terms of quality.
Yeah, they've only just now started their season 1, so it's the game has been out for 6 months and they've only just started season 1.
Shouldn't season 1 have started at launch?
You would think so.
That's how I would imagine that's how seasons work. But
yeah, you would think so.
I'm not a game developer.
Yeah, it seems that they aren't either anymore. All right, that's too harsh. Okay, I mean DICE, they're still a very prestigious game studio. I do believe they have it in them to turn it around, but yeah.
Maybe we should stop crunch culture and stop rushing games and just wait to release a finished product that people will actually enjoy.
Yeah, well, now that Microsoft owns Activision, who produced Call of Duty, even Call of Duty is not taking a break. This year's Call of Duty, I think it is. Yeah, either this year's
Modern Warfare 2.
Yeah, I think it's this year's Call of Duty is going to be, or rather, 2023 will be the first year Call of Duty skips a year. So we're getting Modern Warfare 2 and then skip, and then it comes back in 2024. Yeah. It's the first time since the mid-2000s where Call of Duty has not had a game out that year. So.
And in their defense, like the only reason they could pump out a game every year is because there were 3 different game studios.
Yeah.
So it was just, each studio had like multiple years to release each game, just because they were staggered.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, speaking of crunch culture, I mean, really, Call of Duty has already in effect been taking a year off every now and again, because in every 3-year cycle, there's at least one game that is not very good. Yeah. For every
Vanguard.
Yeah, Vanguard. For every let's think of for every Advanced Warfare, say you have an Infinite Warfare. Yep. For every Black Ops Cold War, you have a Vanguard, and so on and so forth.
I think Black Ops 4 was kind of a flop.
Yeah, Black Ops 4 was a flop. People, I was interested in playing Black Ops 3, never got around to it. But I hear that people didn't like Black Ops 3, people didn't like Black Ops 4, Infinite Warfare was bad, Vanguard was bad. Call of Duty World War II, the 2017 one, was very hokey and had a big loot box issue. So, it's been the consequence of them not taking a year off isn't. The concept is essentially the same in that instead of just getting no game once every now and again, you just get a bad game every now and again.
Yeah.
I mean, Black Ops 4 effectively was just them taking a year off, because that was just Battle Royale. And you notice how the very next year, in 2019, they did the new Modern Warfare, and that's when they introduced Warzone, that just became Call of Duty Battle Royale. So they completely forgot about Black Ops 4. All those people who bought Black Ops 4 wanting to have a Call of Duty Battle Royale just got completely screwed. They bought a worthless game because now it's all Warzone. So, yeah. There you go. I think that's it. We covered quite a gamut of things. We covered college, we covered aliens, we covered ghosts, we covered games. Those
are the 4 things there are to talk about.
A true grab bag of nonsense. That should be the tagline of season 2. A true grab bag of nonsense.
That sounds like a good title episode to me.
Yeah, I mean, I
would remember that line.
Yeah. But yeah, is there anything else that we should talk about?
I got nothing.
Well, I guess
I'm excited to make the thumbnail because I'm just gonna do aliens and it's gonna be fun. Or aliens and ghosts, probably.
Yeah, can you make a thumbnail of the 2 of us getting abducted into a flying saucer?
Oh, hell yeah. I will absolutely.
Boy, yeah, I gotta tell you, the thumbnail you did for our Allentown recap was something special. I can't wait to see you just unleash more of that creativity on more of the thumbnails.
That was really a fun one because I didn't want to do the fucking question mark thing again.
Sure, yeah.
And then I just thought about like, well, the main, not main focus, but like the highlight was definitely the axe throwing. And Emmanuel was just so good at axe throwing.
Yeah.
I was like, what if I just made him throwing axes at us? And I was like, oh, I could use the scared photos. I could put the apples on top of our head. Oh, our logo, like if you paint it all red, it kind of looks like a target. So I can use that as like the 2 targets that were.
It was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I just put in some anime lines to make it more intense, and it worked beautifully.
It really did. It really did. I think I told you it is easily one of my favorite thumbnails you've ever done. I mean, it is really something special. So, yeah. So look forward to that. Although, of course, if you're watching this video, then you've already seen it. In which case, well done, Reid. You killed it with the thumbnail. Yeah. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this week. Next time we'll be back with
something.
More news, more musings, and more random bullshit. So, yeah, we will speak to you then. Goodbye, everybody.